International Memorial Day Blending Conference, May 2023. General subject: Knowing, experiencing and enjoying Christ, as revealed in Philippians. Message 3. Being one in soul to enjoy Christ, by thinking the one thing, by being one with Christ in His inward parts, and by allowing God to operate in us, the willing and the working for His good pleasure. Day 5. Roman number 4. In order for us to be one in soul, we need to work out our own salvation, by cooperating with the inner energizing God, who operates in us, both the willing and the working, for His good pleasure. Capital A. We work out our own salvation, because God works within us. We may say that we do not have the willingness, but God is working the willingness into us, for the working out of His good pleasure. The willing is within, and the working is without. Capital B. We need to exercise our spirit, with our subdued and resurrected will, to choose to work out our own salvation, by cooperating with the indwelling triune God, who operates within us, the willing for His good pleasure. Capital C. Our transformed will can be seen typologically, in Song of Songs 4:4. This verse says, that the Lord's loving seeker has a neck, like the Tower of David, built for an armory. 1,000 bucklers hang on it, all the shields of the mighty men. Number 1. The Bible speaks of those who walk according to their self-will, who are stubborn and proud, as stiff-necked ones. Hence, the neck denotes man's will. The Lord considers the submission of man's will as the most beautiful thing in man. Number 2. The neck being like a tower signifies that the seeker's will has been strengthened by God, to the point that she no longer loves the world, and is no longer affected by Satan. Her will has been brought into complete submission to David, who signifies Christ, and her will has been taken captive by Christ. Number 3. The armory stored within the tower signifies the victory of Christ, for the preservation of the believer's will, from the enemy's usurpation. Bucklers and shields are for protection, and the mighty men denote strength. Number 4. In summary, Song of Songs 4:4 indicates that the believer is willing to submit to Christ's will, and her will is as strong as a tower, for carrying out His will. She is on guard vigilantly, and does not allow the enemy to usurp her submissive will. Morning nourishment. Philippians 2:12-13. Work out your own salvation, with fear and trembling. For it is God, who operates in you, both the willing and the working, for His good pleasure. Song of Songs 4:4. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built for an armory. 1,000 bucklers hang on it, all the shields of the mighty men. We can work out our own salvation, because God works within us. God is mysterious, invisible and abstract, but He is nonetheless within us. We need to be in fear and trembling, lest we miss God, who is our daily salvation. If we miss Him, we miss this practical salvation. It may seem that it isn't possible for us to work out our own salvation. If the Philippians had said this, Paul might have replied, "Don't you know that God is working in you? He is working in you, both the willing and the working." You may say that you do not have the willingness, but God is working the willingness into you. He is also working in you, for the working out of His good pleasure. He works in, and you work out. Thus, there is no need for you to do the work by yourself. Today's reading. Take the example of driving a car. When we drive a car, does the car move us, or do we move the car? We do not have the power to move the car. Thus, it is the car that moves us. Likewise, as we work out our salvation with fear and trembling, God is working in us, both the willing and the working. Because He works in, we can work out. This is like driving a car that is already running. If the car were not running, we could not drive it. In like manner, because God is working within us, we are able to work. Eventually, this is not something fearful. It is an enjoyment. The only reason to be fearful is that we may miss the mysterious, marvelous God within us. We need to care for the indwelling God. If we take care of Him, He will drive the car. That is, He will work in us, so that we may work out our salvation. The Bible speaks of those who walk according to their self-will, who are stubborn and proud, as stiff-necked ones. Hence, the neck denotes man's will under God. The Lord considers the submission of man's will as the most beautiful thing in man. In Song of Songs 4:4, there are two aspects of a submissive will. First, your neck is like the tower. A tower describes a condition that is opposite to that of a hunchback. In the Bible, hunchbacks are bound by Satan to face the earth all the time. The neck being like a tower means that the person is released. There is no bondage of Satan, and no love for the world. A tower also means strength. The maiden's will has been strengthened by God, to the point that she no longer loves the world, and is no longer affected by Satan. Second, your neck is like the Tower of David. This is not an ordinary tower, but the Tower of David. In addition to the sense of strength and deliverance, we also see that the maiden's will has been brought into complete submission to David. Her strength lies in her submission to Christ, and her deliverance also lies in her submission to Christ. We should all realize the importance of being taken captive by Christ. What is the use of this tower? It is built for an armory. This means that spiritual warfare is fought for the purpose of claiming the will. The armory stored within the tower signifies the victory of Christ for the preservation of the believer's will from the enemy's usurpation. However, the weapons are not for attack, but for defense. Therefore, only bucklers and shields are mentioned. Mighty men denote strength. In summary, this verse indicates that the maiden is willing to submit completely to David's will. She is as strong as a tower in carrying out David's will. She is on guard vigilantly, and does not allow the enemy to usurp her submissive will. This is the end of Day 5 of Message 3.